the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Approve the minutes of the May 18th meeting. Or May 12th, I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made second to approve the minutes of the May 12th meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Approve the minutes of the May 18th meeting, special meeting.
I move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second to approve the May 18th meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. I should have said approve the agenda. I can't do it now, so.
Well, I think you could, maybe if you could make a friendly amendment to that and make a motion to.
Since we got so many people here, could I have an motion
We'll take things
to
out of order.
amend the agenda, to take things out of order?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made second to pass it. Thank you. So let's go right to 14, the campers. I think that's the most you people are here for.
Okay, Terry and I were appointed to take a look at, the camper slash RV issues, as I think we're all fielded a number of complaints from residents about the number, the size, and restrictions, if any, that we have in Goodhue on these mobile homes and trailers and stuff, etc. So we met, I think it was last Wednesday we met, and spent about an hour going through a number of examples, and we had kind of recommended that the council, I think we're probably gonna have some kind of final ordinance that, number one, doesn't ban them, doesn't say you can't have them, but that they would have to be probably parked adjacent to the driveway of the house, probably, not an additional driveway put in. I think that was the first parameter we had, number one. Number two was if they were gonna be stored outside and not in a shed, they would have to have some kind of a pad constructed under the, not just on the grass or the lawn, they have some kind of a pad. And the second idea that we had was that there probably be some kind of a length requirement that at the house. We've looked at least one ordinance that says it can't be over 22 feet long at any. Now, I think that's a separate and distinct issue from why people may be here tonight. The city of Goodhue has a ordinance that has been in place for a number of years, which says that anything over 10,000 pounds cannot be driven in or even be on any area for zone residential use other than designated by a city council, except when the vehicle is parked in a completely enclosed garage. So we've had discussions about this, and there are apparently 2 or 3 of them that are probably over the weight. And so it's my understanding that the police officer went and talked to those people, made them aware of at least 2 of those violations. Didn't write them a ticket, wasn't heavy-handed about it in my opinion, but I wasn't there. And then in addition, there was another one that's quite a large one that has been parked on the street, which is again not pursuant to the ordinance. So I assume that's what people want to discuss here tonight. My only comment is that if we have an if you want to change ordinance, that's fine, but I think it's unrealistic to think that we're going to have an ordinance, then get mad at the police officer because he chooses to respond to a citizen complaint, and be no different if somebody was speeding and the police officer saw somebody speeding, and he responded to a complaint, and he just said, I'm not gonna pay attention to that. So I guess that's what I have to say. I guess, first of all, are any of those parameters that we talked about objectionable, good, bad, or indifferent, or how does everybody feel? Or Terry, is that an accurate thing of what we discussed, you think, Terry, or not?
Yeah, we discussed a lot of different things, and we certainly are looking at trying to make something that's gonna be workable for, this is not meant to be difficult. This is meant to really, just with the popularity of trailers and campers and whatnot, we're seeing just more and more and more of them. And so looking at other ordinances, and this problem, isn't, just isolated in Goodhue. It's in a lot of areas. So like Dick said, we're not looking at banning anything. We're just trying to come up with, something that's gonna be doable. I'm certainly willing to hear from some of you as we move forward and try to put something together. Because this isn't just about Mr. Gorman and I. It's about trying to do what's best for the residents of Goodhue and hopefully come up with a viable solution.
Anybody want to say anything?
Well, you're getting, seems to be more restrictive than the other towns around. They allow motor homes and trailers, like Irvin Zimbrota today, they're all over the place in Zimbrota.
The street.
And a motor home sitting in the driveway with barely enough to fit back into it, it's out on the curb. A picture of that. As far as 40 feet and weight of the motor home, if it's a nice looking motor home, I don't see that it's objective. What the 10,000 pound deal is, I don't see the reason for that.
Well,
Because
10,000.
any trailer or good sized trailer or motor home is gonna be over that.
See, 10,000 pound we're put, that's in the, for all the new additions for the streets and that. Because if we allow that, then we gotta allow semi-tractors come up. And we won't. We told them already over 10,000 pounds not to be parking in city streets. That's been going on since 1900s.
Well, fine.
I mean,
A person buys a motor home and it's convenient to have it in the driveway if you got space for it. It's not sitting out on the road, it's not in anybody's way. And it sits on my driveway, and my driveway didn't sink down in the ground from it. And it's not a junky old school bus.
no, I know what your camper looks like, so. But I don't know. These guys are in the committee, so we have to listen.
Right. I know.
Well, this is an ordinance that's been, we had a person that wanted to, I don't think we can say one guy's junk is one other guy's treasure. So we had a person that had a revamped school bus that was parking it there, and this is several years ago when they said you can't do it. So, and he got kind of mad at me for a while, but we got over it, okay? Because it's just the ordinance, it's not, that's what it says. So I don't know about the situation in other towns except for what I read, but that's what it says, and I think the reason is for it, so we don't have the great big ones around. Now, again, what one guy's junk is might be another guy's treasure, I don't know. But I don't know how you just disintegrate it. It says 10,000 pounds. That's kind of, I think that now that's the only thing we have as far as being restrictive. We don't have any restrictions at this time. Any restrictions on campers and recreational vehicles? None. This was been since we've had this ordinance in effect for, I don't know, 15 years or more. So they're two different issues, because the issue the council was looking at was what do we do going forward with campers. But this one is, yours is way over. And we did have people too. If you decide that you want to get rid of that weight limit, that's fine, but do it. but then are you gonna is there gonna be semis parked up there and some people think that's okay too?
Semis is different than an RV.
Well,
You can't make an
to some-
exception for campers, it's a recreational vehicle that's not there very often, or like in their case, it gets parked, it's not running up and down the street left and
Well,
right.
I don't make
I know
that,
you don't make, but I'm just commenting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, not trying to speak out of turn.
no, but I'm just telling you that if you wanna go by weight, you can't, that was the purpose for semis. We also have comments all the time about school bus traffic, and once, believe it, and you run this school, you know, we try to keep the roads in shape, and yeah, maybe this one or two things aren't gonna do things, but that's what the purpose of was it for. But then we gotta be prepared then, that the next guy that wants to put his junky looking school bus, as you may call it, I wouldn't call it that, not anybody's, but they're gonna park that right on the, so this is the way it is. If you want, all I'm asking, if you don't wanna enforce it, then change it.
As long as it comes to,
So it hasn't been enforced? Is that what you're saying?
It's been
it's
enforced,
enforced on the street, not in the driveway.
Okay.
yeah.
Can I speak, please?
Yes.
I'm just kinda wondering, what has changed besides maybe new people on the council? Cause I mean, I talk to a lot of people, I don't see a whole lot of complaining, I don't see a lot sitting around. These are recreational vehicles, most of them come and go. A lot of the people that do have them, they're sitting in a nice spot, they're out of the way. Granted, there are probably a few that maybe aren't as appeasing to the eye as another person, but if it's licensed currently or a registered vehicle, what does that make it any different than anything else if you fall underneath that guideline? I know that that's the set rules, but I'm more talking about your new proposal that you guys are coming up with. You know, we gotta remember, this is a small town. If we're gonna start nitpicking on every little thing, if it's a registered, licensed vehicle that's not hurting nothing, why are we wasting our time with this stuff? Unless it's, somebody got a personal, you know, I hope there isn't personal issues getting wrapped up in this.
What are you saying here?
Well, I wanna see it be a fair deal here.
Okay, but are you saying I got something personally against you?
No, I'm not saying.
I don't.
I'm
I've been
not
accused.
saying you, and that's why
Okay.
I just said, if somebody,
No, I don't think
You
it's
know.
that. I don't think it's that, but you should have been at the last council meeting when we had somebody in the,
I became aware of this today.
well, no, but at the last council meeting, we had a guy that was really upset, right?
Mhm.
And very upset about this. And I don't know if you guys have had any other complaints, I don't know, but he was really upset about this. He wanted to know what he could do, and, so I said, well, you could do A, B, C, or D. But that still doesn't change the thing about the $10,000 deal. So, I guess I.
So-
And I get that.
So I got a question, maybe this help us out a little bit. What this says, like Gary has his in his driveway,
Mhm.
that's okay, as long as it ain't out the street.
No, you can't have it parked there, you can't have it.
According to that
According to
ordinance
that, right,
that was put
yeah.
in place in
Yeah.
what year?
In the 90s, but then
I don't
it's no different than, but, you know, the Gadian bus, I'm just gonna say it.
Right.
The Gadian bus. Brett, there were complaints, and what did we tell you?
No, I think there was one complaint from some crazy person.
But they said,
Lives in town.
there was a complaint, and they said you couldn't have it because it's too heavy, right?
No,
What they
well,
said?
you said, yeah, that was what you guys had said.
Yeah.
But just for the record here, I had it parked there because I had just purchased it that night.
Yeah.
The battery was dead. I had to wait till the next morning to get a new battery, and I was gonna move it.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to move it. Cops came.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you wanna use me as an example.
No, I'm just saying that, but the issue, we have had complaints before.
Yeah, you've gotta have some rules,
Yeah, the
especially,
rule-
especially a street, you know.
Yeah.
See, to me, the street is a no.
Absolutely.
If
The
it's
adjacent
parked-
to the house,
if
well,
it's-
that's
if it's
good.
adjacent to the house, parked back off the street, so it's not blocking anybody's view for when they come up to an intersection or to see past it. That's where I'm coming from. I do not have an issue with that.
Derek, there are three of us who are new, and we're all learning. And, if somebody feels like, because my name is attached to this, does somebody have a vendetta? I think what people have to realize, this is a very difficult job. And all of us here are trying to keep a really open mind, and we get phone calls, comments, and we have to bring it up and just really look at all the avenues. And in Dick and our discussion, now please know that the ordinance that was already there, that was there long before whatever. We looked at this because of some issues that people were having. We have not put anything into place yet.
And we're aware of that, but
we-
that's why the biggest reason is
Let
going
me finish,
forward. Okay,
We want to be fair and equitable across the board. We're trying to come up with a solution, and trust me, this is not easy, okay? Nobody else wanted to touch this issue, so it's kind of like going into it. So honestly, when I say this sincerely, I want to hear from people. Come to me, talk to them. We want to look at these things. Dick and I are going, we knew that this was going to be a hot button. And you know what? It's wonderful to see people here instead of having things pass, and then coming in and people go, what the heck just happened? So moving forward, yeah, we're going to talk about it. Maybe we're not going to get anything resolved this summer. We're not talking about get that stuff off right now. Let's talk about it. Would that be a fair assumption? I mean,
It's a fair assumption, but then I think the police officer we should tell the police officer apparently that are we not gonna enforce that or not? And if we're not gonna enforce it, I think we should change, because it's putting him in a difficult position. If
absolutely.
John Doe calls up and says, that thing ain't supposed to be there, and I want you, just like, again, somebody's speeding and the officer says, this guy comes speeding down every time and ain't supposed to be there, then I think you're putting him in a difficult position to do that. So I think that then maybe along with this change to the camp, maybe if you want to do that, consider amending that at the same time.
Let's just do this. As of right now, there's nothing happened till we get through here. We've got to come up with a better plan on
I think
this.
so.
And when we do that, we'll let these people know that as long as you're signed in, we can get back to it. But we're not prepared here tonight, I can see that, to do anything on this. This was just brought up 2 weeks ago. They've worked together one day, so we're gonna have to turn around and work a little more on, and there's nothing gonna get accomplished tonight anyway, so.
And I would say the most important thing right now is to keep them off the street. For now, because I don't know,
As long as they're on the street is a no-no.
Right.
Off the street
but they can load
is
them.
off the street right now to be the same as what you've been doing until we can come up with something
Something viable.
for everybody that's gonna be fair. Is that fair to say?
So when you do come up with these deals, even if you do say you can't park the thing here, when you're coming to bring your stuff home from a trip, or you gotta,
Oh,
you wanna
yeah.
be able to bring that
And
to
we
your
looked at
house.
that because
You gotta
there's,
keep that in mind
yeah.
too.
That's in
There-
the,
that's in there. Yeah.
No. in the
Yeah.
proposed, we already have that in one of our
Yeah.
ordinances that allows people even to park on the street.
for loading and
Yeah,
unloading
that's
and for a
That's
certain
ordinance.
amount of
Is that like
hours.
for 48 hours? or something?
I'll,
Yeah.
it's ordinance number 157, I wasn't completely prepared, but not too bad for tonight. 157 says, I think it's 48 hours, they can,
I thought so too.
Yeah.
but it can't be part, if you're unloading or loading or something, it says here, I can't find, I think it's 48 hours, so. Oh, general parking, no motor vehicles shall be parked on any public street for more than 48 continuous hours, and that was meant to be in there so that if they did wanna move it, you know, like you're getting ready to go on a Memorial Day trip or whatever, but it's just when it's parked there all the time, that's what that was designed to do.
I don't see where you get stuck on that 10,000 pound rule.
Well, again, it's in the ordinance and that it was designed so heavy, great big vehicles weren't parked in residential areas all the time.
Right, but I mean, that's when you take it to the trailer and
Well,
motorhome, I mean,
no,
That's where they're gonna have to come up with an extension or
Yeah.
figure something
Technically-
out for a
but
recreational.
technically you can't even drive a semi at all. Only place a semi can come in Goodhue really is to go to and from deliveries to the school.
you know, you
That's
shouldn't discriminate against truck drivers.
Well, I know. Well, I mean, I just
I
said
drove for
technically.
47
I know,
years.
you did, but
Rules, you couldn't park the thing.
Well-
You had to stop to sleep here and there every 10 hours,
Yeah,
but don't park at my town.
well, but we have, that's
Yeah,
fine, but
or
there's,
truck drivers.
no, but there's the complaints come in. We used to have a guy who left the semi running all night down there.
Well,
And-
you had to stay warm.
Well, I know, but then if you're living next to it, you're probably don't want
Let's
people.
keep
So,
Yeah.
Okay, good.
One last comment, just going forward, you know, we can discuss now, we're gonna, just, you know, I know there's gonna be multiple people here the next couple weeks, you know, we're hitting summer. If they're out there, you know, motorhome or the travel trailer might be out in front for a few days, obviously, we're okay with that right now? Is that kind of where we're getting at?
Yeah, for unloading
The
and
48
loading up.
hours,
for
now, how about
camp.
these people with their motorhomes? Are they okay for that?
I think mother.
Because we got a, one thing that says one thing, but, you know,
Right.
until going forward, is there a way you guys can just say, until we get a hardcore, you know, we're gonna not, I don't wanna say overlook a rule, but until we get something more binder, because a lot of these people don't have anywhere even to go with this stuff right now.
I think the consensus of the council is to do nothing and until we get our changes.
Okay.
Could we leave it somewhat up to our chief of police and his discretion on what's going on? If that thing's been there a week, he has to maybe go.
Well, that's,
talk to them.
I think the street, it's different between the street and just park.
So we will enforce street parking.
I think that's what I'm hearing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 48 hours. isn't it?
Yeah,
It's 48 hours on the
So
street,
how about if it's, say their motorhome,
right.
48 hours,
okay, alright.
not parked in the
And then-
driveway.
Not parked in the
Not in the
We're gonna
driveway.
have a good discussion on what we.
Yeah, not in the
Okay.
driveway, that's fine, apparently what I'm
Yeah.
hearing, it's if it's on the street.
Okay. And we'll work
Is that
that,
correct?
and we'll hear
Yeah.
more as you come up with it.
Your guys is up there and you are in their driveways, it's okay for right now.
Yeah.
That's, you understand
And
that?
you guys are gonna come up with another plan.
Yeah, if you decide to pull it out into the street, then it's a different story. But, and like you, Sarah, you park alongside it, it's okay for right now. Until we get something, we're gonna have to revise all this anyway, so it's not even gonna be next 2 weeks.
And as you guys, as you guys revise this and look into this, if you could ask for our feedback, we'd really appreciate it.
This is the committee right here, so.
No,
As
no,
long
yeah,
as
absolutely.
now listen, hey,
Yeah, that's right.
as long as your name's on there where they can get a hold of you,
Sounds good.
is what we're after, and you can just put your name on it and put camper on it, or buy it so they know that's what you're here for.
Aren't you in charge of getting everybody here for camper to put their email addresses on that clipboard?
You just heard
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
Is that okay?
This
Good?
responds to a larger conversation too.
her. I think, is everybody happy with that decision right now?
well,
Go ahead, Brett.
Brett,
Also, you know, a lot of cities have dump stations just right at the sewer plant or some, you know, I don't know about other camper owners, but finding a place to dump has gotta be hard, right? It'd be nice if the city had a place to dump. Just an idea.
We have enough trouble with our regular sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, charge for it, things money.
well, we can look into it on that.
Okay, all right.
Just an idea.
Okay, let's move on. As long as everybody got
Is
their
everybody-
email addresses and that, how we can contact you on it.
Just, I missed the first minute, but just to be super clear, like there's no ideas or
thought process about what the proposals might be moving forward?
Yeah,
Or there
No,
is?
you missed that.
I missed
Yeah.
that, sorry.
I mean, we just really have just started looking into it,
Okay,
you know, so, but
But
yeah,
As
input.
long as we got input from you people,
That's
that's
what we
that's
want.
what they're after.
right.
There's nobody here to say you just because you got a camper, you gotta get out of town with it, no.
No.
That's not it either.
Is there a better way to provide some of that input other than coming to a meeting? Like, is there,
Well-
would you prefer like an email that says, here, these are my thoughts and, you know,
Well,
or,
what, the other thing is, these guys can set up a committee meeting with you people.
okay,
Mhm.
That's the best thing, is not at a council meeting, just at a committee meeting
Workshop.
where this is,
Workshop,
workshop, where this is just it.
workshop.
okay.
I mean, that's the fairest way of doing it, then you get everybody's input and everything else, and I know it's not gonna appease all of you,
I know, I'm sure not everybody will be happy and that's,
but it's at least, it's gonna be the fairest way to have it done. And there's nobody in here just because you're a camper, we're against you or for you or anything, because we gotta look out what's best for the whole city. So let's, can we get this tabled until you get,
I think we're at a consensus here.
okay.
Yeah.
Then let's go to the waste manager, Jay here.
Okay.
I guess I misunderstood, I thought he was attending again, but he did send.
Yeah, he sent
this.
some in your packet.
Yeah, and then Dick also,
I was reading that, I think Dick is right on this. Because if we do want to possibly get ourselves in a bind with another company.
I think we gotta table this until the next meeting in two, Carrie. So we,
Yeah.
See when he's here.
yeah.
When he's here.
I think we'd like a motion on that one, that would be better on that one.
Yep,
Yeah. I make a motion to table waste management contract.
can I get a second?
I took
Motion is made and second to table the waste management contract for this week. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Southeast Minnesota multi-housing.
Good evening. I am Karen Ducharme with the Southeast Minnesota Multi-County Housing and Redevelopment Authority. Last year, we, well, actually, beginning in 2019, we surveyed the community to determine if there's a need and interest for a housing rehab program within the city of Goodhue. And we partnered that up with the city of Denison so that we could get, maximize the funding limit. So for a housing rehab program, these are federal funds that have a limit of $600,000. So by combining the two communities and doing a joint community, we were able to maximize based on the need and interest of that survey. So that grant was funded last year, and we're here tonight to get all the approvals in place to start beginning that program within the city. So I'm just gonna go through the agenda, the items that are listed on your agenda, A through M, and then just talk about those and introduce them, and then I can address any questions. So the grant contract, obviously it's with the state of Minnesota. These are federal funds, but they are handed down to the state where cities under 50,000 population compete on a competitive grant application process. So obviously there needs to be a grant contract in place for that. The administrative contract, so this is the city of Goodhue's grant, so they are the grantee. Denison is a secondary community on this, and so the money will flow through the city of Goodhue. So in order for us to administer on your behalf, so we have an inspector, we have somebody who works at files, and then all the federal requirements that go along with that grant, we do all that on behalf of Goodhue, and we maintain all the files, so there needs to be an administrative contract. And our fees are covered through that grant, so there's an administrative cost to that. So there's the only charge to Goodhue, which was agreed upon when we submitted and developed the grant application, is a fee of $5,000, which will be invoiced in 2 years. So 2023, so there's a little invoice for that. That allows time for the city to budget for that and plan for that expense. So we maintain all that, we do all the reporting and all the compliance, so they'll actually go through a couple of audits. Sometimes there'll be desk audit, and then there'll be an in-person audit, and we take care of all that on the city's behalf. And we do not have any outstanding audit findings in terms of our reputation or record. Excessive force, that is a federal requirement, and there has been precedence to have that. But basically, if residents are publicly doing a demonstration peacefully, it's basically you're not going to use excessive force if they're doing a public demonstration in a peaceful manner. Anti-displacement, we have to have that in place, so if we get into, as a precautionary measure, we get in and start rehabbing somebody's house and they have to be displaced, then the grant can cover those displacement fees, is essentially why that happens. That's never happened, but it's, again, a precautionary measure. Authorization and release of funds resolution, that is so that our executive director or our accountant could sign off on the draws, so we don't have to send those to Lori to sign off every time we do a draw, which is usually every 2 weeks we have to do that. So that gives the authority for Centra to do those draws and sign off on those. Drug-free workplace, that is just another federal requirement. It's just a policy we have to have in place. Some of these are non-negotiable things that we have to have in place. So fair housing, obviously we can't discriminate in terms of, well, this person was rude to us on the phone, we're going to put their application on the bottom of the pile even though they're the first person to call. We can't do that. We have to have exercise fair housing throughout the program. Program income, so if someone defaults on their loan, so they don't use the house as their primary residence or they sell it within the 10-year loan term, they have to pay a portion of this back. So if they keep it for 10 full years and they remain the primary owner for 10 full years, it's forgiven. But if they don't, then we have to collect on those. And so we have to have a plan for those monies. Basically, any repayments that come back will be used within the city of Goodhue to rehab other houses, or it can serve another federal objective. So there's different things that just can't be used for any purpose within the city. It has to meet certain requirements. Section 3 plan, so we have to try to, we have to do advertisement to women and minority-owned businesses. That's a federal requirement that we have to do that. So we have a plan in place for that. We typically advertise at hardware stores and lumber yards, and we put notices out to our general contractors. We're willing to work with any general. If the house was built before 1978, though, they have to be lead licensed if there's lead in the home. So there's certain criteria there, but we do outreach for women and minority-owned businesses. The rehabilitation standards is basically I won't get into all the technical terms, but we have to meet certain requirements. So if a house has over 3 steps and it doesn't have a handrail, we have to have that in place. They don't have a smoke detector, we have to have that. So the house must meet housing quality standards, which is a set of HUD guidelines for what the condition of the home must be after the rehab. We don't do cosmetic things. So somebody wants an addition, we're not doing that. If they want cabinets, we will do cabinets if they don't have proper food preparation area. So if their counter spaces they don't have proper food preparation on a countertop or cabinets, then we do that. But we typically just don't do that stuff because they want something. Flooring is another thing. We don't typically do a lot of flooring unless there's a tripping hazard or if somebody needs handicap accessibility. And then we also, the owner-occupied housing rehab, item K is the policy, so it kind of sets the guidelines for how we operate the program, which it just provides a consistent basis of rules. And then the post-grant administrative contract, so for the 10 years after this grant closes, so beginning on October 1st, 2023, these loans have to be monitored, so we have to do different loan servicing, basically. Somebody refinances their house, they're going to want a subordination because their mortgage company is going to want to be in first place. So we you can imagine right now with interest rates being lower, we're doing a lot of subordination. So basically, we take care of that on behalf of the city. We track any collections, we keep it in a fund that's tracked specifically for the city of Goodhue. We take care of all the reporting. There is a fee for that, so the minimum fee is $250, but since this is a joint community, we're splitting that fee 50-50 with Denison and Goodhue. And I'm meeting with Denison next week or the following week to get their approvals on the post-grant administrative contract as well. So if there's funds that have been recollected, we take the admin fees for annual work out of the funds that have been collected. So that is a very quick synopsis of a lot of different information. So I will open up for questions.
There was just the one here, the walkaway policy.
Oh, I'm
That
sorry.
was To just cover
That's
bases.
not a requirement of the grant, but we have encountered one situation where somebody was a hoarder and it was unsafe for our inspector to be in their house. So we put that policy in place just to make sure that we have the option to walk away from a property or project so that if it's an unsafe situation that they don't want to be responsive to, you know, we encourage them that they need to get this cleaned up, work with their adult children to get it cleaned up, and they didn't. And we just sometimes have to walk away from it. Or if they get into the situation where they get to the lead inspection and they don't want to go through with it, that allows us to collect the lead fee, and then we go use that to go back and do somebody else's house. So it kind of takes care of ensuring that we have those lead fees for a project that's going through with the process. So we've gotten to the lead risk assessment because it's a built before 1978, and they've just decided we're not going to go through with it. And we've worked with them for so long, and then we just money's going to something that's not going to really benefit them, other than to say what items they have lead in their house.
So do you ever call in anybody else, like the health department I mean, I don't know if that costs something or
Yeah, we have tried to work with like social services or public health, and they're already involved in the situation in that case. But again, we only ran into it once, but it's nice to have that protection there that, you know, that we're consistent too. If you know they don't think it's a judgment thing either, so we have that policy in place.
Have you ever come in contact with an issue where there might be asbestos abatement?
I haven't on a residential, but on a rental I have. So, not on a residential or a single family.
And would all that be covered under the grant
Yes,
as well?
yep, yep.
Is these funds available for anything besides rental, individual properties, like commercial property?
So these funds are strictly for single family. So the grant funded 22 homes to be rehabbed based on an average cost. So if we maximize that cost, the number might be a little less. But we're looking at rehabbing 11 residential homes, single family, within the city of Goodhue. I do have the target area maps in case you guys wanted this. I know there's new members on the council, so I can give you guys that just for your information.
Wayne, we did have one.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, so I don't need it.
If we did have repayments, they could be used to do commercial.
So do they apply through you?
Yes. So we're gonna start actually doing outreach next week. We're gonna call the survey respondents directly. That's proven to be the most successful way to educate homeowners about this. So a lot of times if they get a mailing, they think it's a kind of a scam, and it's because you're never gonna find a grant program like this.
We had this long time ago before.
Yep, 1988, and then in 2007 and 2009, the city was part of a county-wide.
This is the also perimeter of it.
Is it area A or both?
Yeah.
It's both, so area A will be open for probably towards the end of the year, so we're gonna be calling both survey respondents in area A and B and get them, B will be placed on the waiting list. And then we'll work with them once we've opened it up from area A to area B.
Is there a maximum amount that somebody can get?
25,000. So I think our average cost was based on, or 11 projects was based on an average less than
I
that.
see.
But so that's where you could come into an issue where we would do a little bit less than 11, but our goal is to do all 11. And then after, probably next year sometime, if Denison doesn't use all of theirs, then Goodhue could use some of theirs and vice versa. Goodhue doesn't use all of theirs, Denison. So that's why we're doing the direct call, so that we make sure both cities have the maximum opportunity to use the rehab units that were allocated as part of the grant.
I got a question, and this probably gonna be no, but if we had a house, let's say right now it's condemned, could we use some of this money to get that house gone?
Well, one, it depends on the owner, and two, it depends on if the money would be able to bring it up into a habitable state. So we could look at it on a case-by-case basis, but if the occupant doesn't own it, we're probably dead in our tracks right there.
I just wanted to clarify that, so.
You know, when we look at $25,000 right now, considering the price of lumber and depending on what we can get, that's not gonna go very far.
No, it doesn't.
Are they looking at adjusting that?
We've advocated for that. We have advocated for removing the target areas, which was something that got funded or approved a couple of years ago. So starting with the last year's grant applicants. So you're 1 year too late or too early with your application. But yeah, we have talked about the 25,000 and the price of materials. Contractors right now are having a hard time holding their prices for even 10 days, which by the time we go through all our work, I mean, it's just hard to get a project turned around in 10 days.
So you need a motion then for everything, not the resolution, just the,
So I need approval of the resolutions and the motions, and it's up to you guys how you want to handle that.
so we could do the motions as one and we could do the resolutions as another.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
That suit you people fine?
Yeah.
The easiest. Can I get a motion to approve the motions as needed?
I'll make a motion to approve the motions needed.
Maybe we should say, items A, F, G, H, I, J, K, and L on the agenda, just so we have a clear record.
And
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Second?
okay, motion is made second to approve the motions for A, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and M. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now I need a motion for the resolutions B, C, D, and E. Can I get a motion,
I
please?
move for resolutions
Patrice?
B, C, D, and E.
Thank you. Do I get a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and second to approve the resolutions A, or B, C, D, and E. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. That's
I will
it.
send everything electronically for the mayor and Lori to sign.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Brett,
Yes, sir.
you're next.
All right. Need to wait here a second?
Yeah.
Well, I'm seeking a permit to build an in-ground pool. I think you should all have, oh, yeah. So I imagine there'll be some questions, or since there isn't any.
Is there gonna be a need to have a gate or a fence around this for
You know,
neighborhood kids or anything like that?
well, I'm gonna do all that. even though it's not required, so I'm gonna have a fence, and I'm gonna have a safety cover. So, but no, insurance, county, and I don't think you have anything, any rules, so at this point, there
Your
isn't any.
insurance said no for fence?
Wow.
I can't believe that. Usually, that's
Where's the family
personally.
insurance?
Who was gonna be responsible for the water to fill it, the city, or who fills it?
I gotta figure that out, yeah.
Okay,
And that,
that's, how many gallon, how much
I think it's
volume?
33,000 gallons.
Cause I mean, the city isn't gonna wanna fill that all the time. But, I
No.
don't know.
It would just be essentially once. You leave the water and let it freeze, basically. Drink, let it drain down, you get the skimmers and then winterize it and then leave the water in.
So you're meeting your setbacks, right? Like looking at this right, it's pretty hard to see it.
Yeah, it's quite a long ways from the line.
55 feet.
I think the closest maybe would have been, on the fence would be 26 feet, I think, roughly. That'd be the closest.
So, but you're gonna have a fence, you said. You have it here,
Yeah, that's the,
right?
I
That's the plan, even though it's not required,
correct.
correct?
Yeah.
So if you opted not to do a fence, is it a hard cover that
I
has
have
a
a-
pound limit on it?
It's, not a hard, they don't really make a hard cover, it's a, they call it safety cover. So you can get two different types of safety covers.
Okay.
One that's, an automatic, like built into the cement, and it rolls out on tracks and
Mhm.
covers it automatically. That's not me. Or you can get, really heavy duty, where the anchors, are in the cement, so. So it's not a, so it's a safety cover, it's not a pool cover like to insulate or heat the water, it's, that would be separate. So it's a safety cover. So I think they say you can drive a four-wheeler on it.
Mhm.
But
So is that something you would use how often? I mean,
me,
like
probably
every,
not very much. My wife and kids and all their friends and everybody in the neighborhood in the town, probably a lot.
oh, you mean the pool? I was thinking of the cover.
Oh! The, yeah,
I mean,
I
is
don't
that
see-
something you would put
Probably
every
not.
night,
Probably
or,
probably not.
I mean, if you've got a fence around
That's
it?
right.
Yeah.
It'd be mostly, I'm sure, mostly if we're gonna be out for a period of time, or, whenever it gets too cold, and then for the rest of the winter and into the spring.
You know, he's gonna do it right, but you know, that's another, maybe a little hole in our ordinance that we don't have. I mean, it's Brett that asked me, because we're friends, and he asked me if anything, and I'm not really not aware of anything, but he said, well, I'm gonna put a fence up. But maybe that's something we could look at, if somebody does have a pool that maybe they should, I mean, that's just a thought.
You pull for the fence?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad you're putting a fence in, because I would say
I
that's,
don't want
we have to
science
look
over
at
here
that,
having trouble.
any pool that comes in, I don't have an issue with pool being in or not, as long as it's fenced in, so it's just a safety factor for everybody.
I know.
You know,
Yeah.
that's, and I don't have an issue with the pool at all, as long as the fence goes in.
We're just kinda in
Yeah,
new
no,
territory,
I-
cause we've
Yeah,
never had this
yeah,
before, and it's like,
absolutely.
okay, so how do we do this?
I had a pool when I was little, but we put a 6-foot fence around so nobody could get in.
Mhm.
I mean, and that was back then.
nobody remembers it now, except for me, Gary.
Well, but, no, we put it in, so that's, I mean, as long as you have a fence in, I don't have an issue with it.
How high is the fence gonna be, Brett?
I haven't looked. I'd imagine minimum 4, probably maximum 6. You know, we originally wanted to do kind of a different combination, like a privacy fence on the highway side, like just a solid, but then like a black wrought iron, so you can just see people on the inside. But, you know, especially where we live up there, it's more than 6 feet. I mean, I know you have requirements of height on fence, but
Yes.
if you're over 6 feet, you'll get it going down, I'm sure. I'll probably
So windy.
suggest, yeah.
It's so windy up
But
there.
a 6-foot privacy fence isn't bad. I mean,
Is it what?
a 6-foot privacy fence, it wouldn't be bad.
As far as the wind? Yeah. Probably.
Mhm.
So can, you got anything you want to say something else?
No, I understand that it's new and I'm open to.
You know, I'm aware in Rochester, they had community pools, someone would put in a pool, and then that individual would invite the community people to be, like members of the community pool, and they would charge a fee, and, take care of the pool, and that kind of, I believe that kind of thing was outlawed then. I don't know if by the state or by the city of Rochester. So just as a comment, that'd be something else we need to look at, maybe, as far as, policy. So, and what the rules are along those lines. So,
Anybody else have anything?
Are the neighbors on, this is a loaded question for me, on the neighbors on each side of you, those people? Are they, have you talked to them, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, good,
I think they're probably looking forward to it.
I have to ask. So,
How does it feel? Can I get a motion for the pool?
I just wanna say one thing, you know, because it's new, Brett, and we're excited about this is good. Just that, you know, keep an open mind, I mean, as we kind of, as you get into the project too, you might find that there's something else that you might need to do or whatever, and we're, you know, open to that, so.
So, you know, the fence, I don't know exactly, but the fence won't be further or closer to the line than that. It's either gonna connect the house to totally enclose that large space, or else it's gonna totally enclose the pool just around it.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but same.
Yeah.
Repeat, can I get a motion?
I moved it.
Wait, I have one more question, is this a situation where I need to abstain because I have relatives on each
No,
side
you
of this
don't,
house?
you don't have
No?
any,
Okay.
we're gonna clear that, no. Unless you
I
have a
just wanna make
financial-
sure, cause I don't know the rules.
No, that's a fair question. Unless you have some kind of financial interest in the matter before the council, you
Okay,
don't have to, there's no conflict, you don't have to abstain.
okay,
You have no, to my knowledge, you don't own a house, you don't have a mortgage on the house,
Nope.
nothing else.
and I'm not paying for the pool.
That directly affects you.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. But that's, so you know
Okay.
that.
Just,
Can I get a second?
who made the first?
I did.
Patrice did. Okay, I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to allow the pool, all in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion's carried. There you go, Brett.
Thank you. Was there, Lori, is there anything on the, application that, anything additional?
I don't think so. I'll, fill it out tomorrow and I'll give it to the county.
Okay, thank you.
Travis,
Yes, sir.
you're next.
Just here to apply for, I think I said, you have a board?
You did, but I don't know which one to pull up first. How about you talk about the one I just pulled up?
Pictures on there too, just scroll back down, which one you got there? Just 2 building permits on behalf of Ag Partners, I'm representing them tonight. Can't see it.
Well, the one's right next to our building.
Well, basically, they, you've seen what they did when they tore down the old Creamery building?
Yeah.
The south wall facing Ag Partners and the apartments down there. One permit, we're gonna put up a false wall up against it, attach it to it. Essentially,
Cosmetic.
cosmetic, yeah. And then we're actually gonna put wood trusses over the existing one, because it's got a rubber membrane roof on it and it's leaking. And Bill would like to put a wood truss system over that. So there's gonna be a pitched roof that's gonna pitch dump water on the east and the west, is what they wanna do.
Oh, not on our building.
No, east and west. And then possibly someday, maybe extend that out. Or possibly building, I think what they're really leaning forward or towards is maybe some truck storage for feed trucks at some point.
Sure, kind of really, is it gonna, where's the water?
It's
So
the
they-
garage, no, right next to you.
So they took down all of this.
Right.
Oh, the old shop you're saying.
This
yeah.
building right
Oh,
here,
Wrong,
is
that's what
what's-
we were talking to him.
I believe this is the
That's,
old fire station.
that's their building now.
Yep.
That's
So
the
basically, they're
city.
gonna run trusses this direction, and then this wall right here facing south, we're gonna fix it. It's just,
What's in that city?
where they ripped the building down, it's, like I said, Kerry said, it's purely cosmetic. So that part's gonna happen sooner than later, I don't know when the roof's gonna work, whenever our schedule fit in, but I know Bill was pushing to get that part done. So we'll try to work it in later this summer.
Can I get a motion for this?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion made, second, approve ag partner's building permit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Call that project one, if you wanna call it that.
Okay.
Go up to site plan maybe. These are just my drawings, pretty,
They'll probably spell that all out and then just have two drops to the,
yeah.
all drop feet.
Well, this is the other one down at the other place.
This is the one fertilizer plant. So what you're looking at here is the existing fertilizer storage facility on, what is it, South Broadway? They have a receiving pit that's right here right now. They drive around the building and they dump product. There's an outside grate and concrete slab there. They dump product in there, up this drain leg and then to whatever bin it's going to. They want to essentially build this, was a 20 by 80 building over top of that. The reason being they're a lot of times receiving product and when it's inclement weather. When they got drivers, okay, we're not spreading fertilizer today, so you, Bill, Tim, George, whoever, you guys go haul fertilizer. They get too much water and snow and other stuff in with it.
That's a
That's
good
not-
idea.
yeah.
There's no one who-
It's gonna cut down on dust for, well, there ain't a lot of residential down there, I guess nobody lives in it, but, it's gonna be sided and shingled to match the existing fertilizer plant, so. After it's done to the trained eye, probably don't, it's, you know, you might drive by it a dozen times, no, I didn't even realize it was done, it was there, but. It's not gonna be any chemical storage, nothing, it's just basically a covered building so that they can receive product without getting rainwater and snow, whatever else is going on.
An unloading station.
Yep, this is all there, none of that's gonna change, we're just gonna dig and pour footings and add it over here, so. Kind of a long, narrow thing.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve this one?
I'll second it.
Motion made, second, to approve the second motion for ag partners. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. I think it's a good idea. to look
Yep.
at that.
Yep. I just, they do some of their own permitting, I think Dale did it for the feed condition, but whenever we do buildings, Dale always asks me to come to the council and do it.
No, that's no problem. I mean, you're just their
Just
representative.
representing them, so, yep.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay.
Thought you did good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Am I doing it? You're next.
Oh, just a minute, we're gonna skip the swimming pool. for a minute.
Another half hour.
Oh, you're up, approach the council direct.
Front and center.
Want me to stand?
No.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, pool's ready to go. Steven, they got it ready. And I think we'll open like the 4th, we're thinking. We had somebody less than sign up and that went well, so we're going forward with that. I guess I'm just here, I would like to make kind of like a head guard when I'm not there. I won't be there all the time lifeguarding this year. Just to kind of keep things in control and just have one person kind of more responsible there. So I'm kind of asking for a raise for that guard. I was thinking it would be Tori Rader. She's very responsible. Right now she's making $10.50, so if I could give her $3 or $4 more an hour, I think that would be nice. Yeah, that's just asking for a little bit of a raise.
How many years has she been there?
Well, she starts at 9. She's been there three years.
So she knows ins and outs for the maintenance on the
Yeah.
pool. That'd be the biggest thing, maybe.
And it is hard to get really good lifeguards, so, I mean, We could probably up all their, I mean, I would love to up all their pay, but, to compete with the other towns a little more too.
And I would say their skill.
Yes.
Where, I mean, what can you make at McDonald's? I don't, or, you know, or something like that. So we do need to be competitive.
Yeah,
So we giving them a raise lately?
they get 50 cents every year.
I mean, base pay stuff has been
Yeah,
at
9
9.
is pretty low.
Yeah, they start at 9.
It's really low.
Well, no, I'm just, since we started the pool, it's been at 9. so-
I think they used to start at 7.50.
Or even
Yeah,
lower.
it was long before that, that's
Your
the
mom
old.
is tighter.
Oh.
Yeah, she was.
Mhm.
No, I mean, I'm for starting the base pay up. But,
Okay.
you know, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter to me what we kind of start them at and keep the 50-cent raise every year and.
What do we think about budget wise? Is gonna be any problem? Pretty
The
minor.
pool never pays for itself.
Right, no, I
So
like that,
we,
so.
usually use, several years ago, we got quite a bump in our LGA, it was like 50,000. And at that time, whoever was on council, I don't remember who it was, motioned that we would use that increase always to transfer to the pool. So that kind of's been covering it, and then whatever donations we get.
Cindy, what does Zimbrota get for starting pay? Do you have any
I
idea?
don't know. I could definitely ask. I know they didn't open last year and they don't have as many guards and they're kind of struggling this year with them to open up.
So did most of the sessions fill? I know you had sign up.
Yeah,
There are a lot of kids signing up, parents are signing
they're
up.
pretty popular.
Yeah.
Our competitor is probably the YMCA.
Yeah.
Or Cobble, so,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
more would be what
Over
they're
there.
making.
Mhm.
Do we need to take it?
We don't need to pass that tonight.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what already happened tonight is Tory.
Could we get a suggestion as far as what you think it should be at with, compared to around us? And then maybe we need to look at how it's gonna fit into our budget?
Yeah. As far as Tori, I mean, she's going into college, she's gotta pay for college. What is she at, 10.50? If we could get her at 14 an hour, 13?
If she's gonna take your position when you're not there. 14 is very,
I think she should be paid at the top if she's gonna be
Yeah.
responsible.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm coming.
Yep.
I was almost thinking 15, just to,
I was too. Mhm.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's
That's
my
a lot of
opinion,
responsibility
you know.
to do that.
But that's the one we're looking at tonight, then we can go back and look this over and adjust this at the next meeting, so.
Mhm.
Make a motion that the head guard, that we're
Yeah,
gonna call
yeah,
her,
that's what we'll call it.
would make $15.
Do I got a second?
Second.
Motion made and second to bring the head guard up to
Yeah.
$15 an hour. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Who seconded that?
You beat me to the
Okay.
punch.
Okay. Then we'll look at the rest of that quickly.
Okay. Okay, I'll check with some other pools.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
See
the
what-
best way to help us
Yeah.
out, so.
Thank you guys,
Well,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
she'll be happy.
See, we're as hard as you thought we are, aren't we?
It was worth sitting and waiting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we appreciate all the work you do with the
Yeah.
pool and make it available for everybody here.
So-
It's
Thank
great.
you. Yeah, if
You-
you ever
you
hear
do-
any
you do a good
suggestions, we're
job.
open.
Even though I gave you a hard time years before.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
all right, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you much. Engineer Reeves.
All right. Well, good evening. So a couple updates today. Swanson Heights, we do have final completion at the end of the week. They have not paved that yet, so, you know, we've been reaching out to them, we've been calling them, trying to get that on the schedule. They did ask if they could extend that timeline so that they could pave that along when they're doing the high school. But that would kind of be an an option that the council could consider. Now, we could also push them to do that right away, or we could, our third option would really be to, because there really hasn't been much construction out there, we could wait until a few houses go into that area, and basically take that top lift, and push it even to next year or late this fall.
So if we decided to let it go, which I don't have an issue with either, but let's say the price of oil and that keeps going up, we're still at the same contract?
If we just extend it, the completion date to call it fall, then yes, it would be the same price.
I just don't want to say, well, held it off till next year, and all of a sudden the price doubles on.
No. So they would, if part of that contingency of agreeing to the contract extension would be the same holding price.
I'm just trying to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
So would that be extended to the fall or next year?
I would think it'd be more of the fall. I don't know if we could really ask them to extend it another year. Plus, we don't really want to go through another winter with the lip on the curb edge, having some of that water standing there. Right now, it basically has to go through the pavement edge and then get down to the subdrain. So I would like to not go through another winter with that, so we don't end up with more freeze thaw issues. I did see the grass is getting a little long out there. I can ask them to mow the grass out there too, so it's not becoming an eyesore for those neighbors too.
No, yeah, because we haven't turned that over yet, have we?
No. we have not.
Okay, yeah, so they're responsible to be doing that, yeah.
Exactly, so that's not city's responsibility to do that until the contract ends, and then the city takes over it, and then becomes responsible for maintenance. So then the second one was the sanitary district, so we had a meeting with engineers last Friday. Kind of discussed report outlines, kind of plan of attack, so we've laid out some preliminary course main alignments for all the different communities, and we're working with them just on best route within their own town, to determine what other projects they may have coming, just so we can help coordinate with that general alignment somewhat figured out. So we did prepare the draft report template, and then we are working on some of the flows and loadings from each of the communities. So each community is essentially outlining what they have now, and then what we want to plan for in the future. So basically, as part of the preliminary planning process, we're going to need to say, okay, as Goodhue, what do we want to account for? Because really, you don't want to just say whatever we're getting today is what part that we want to contribute to this, because if we plan too low, then we will have to contribute more capital costs for an expansion if we go way low. Now,
You mean the size of the whole thing?
the size of the whole facility, right? So there should be some excess capacity built into that plan. We're just trying to determine how much, and how much that, we determine is going to impact how much capital cost that the city of Goodhue would take part of. So if we say we're sending 100,000 gallons a day, and the rest of the communities are sending 900,000, for example, then it would be 10%, or however that shakes out from the overall funding capacity. So really, whatever we kind of decide on right now, it's not going to lock us in, by any means. At this time, it's really more of a long-term planning exercise. So as a little bit of a frame of reference, right now, the city's averaging probably in the mid 60,000 gallons on a normal dry day, 60,000 gallons per day. So on a rainy day, what happens is you get a lot of infiltration and inflow from the rainwater. There's sometimes people have basement interconnects that should not be connected to sanitary sewer, but there's an old practice that sometimes carries over. So what will happen is when it rains, and if it rains real hard, you double your flows. And so what'll happen is Steve will see, about 130,000 gallons flowing to his plant right now. So part of that discussion becomes, one, how much do we want to plan for? And then two, do we want to provide some excess capacity, here in town before we start pumping it? So the benefit of that is, essentially you're calling it equalization, a flow equalization type thing. Because if we don't do anything for that, then what's gonna happen is you're gonna have to oversize your pumps and your lift station and your force main. So basically what you have to do is you have to plan for that maximum peak flow, and then you're basically doubling your pump sizes from what would be really necessary. So that's another piece. So I did talk to Steve the other day on, are there a couple options that we could do, to reuse, because we do have an existing plant, and you do have some clarifiers that do have a decent amount of capacity. We're looking at, potentially reusing a couple of those, basins, and maybe the clarifier in particular, to provide some of that buffer so that we can send a consistent flow to the sanitary facility, and therefore limit the pumping needs.
I got a question.
Yeah.
On your lift pumps, okay. How many do we have to have between ours grow first?
So we would just have the one, we plan on just having the one lift station here in Goodhue. So we can get most of the way to Zumbrota. And then actually, as you go down the hill, you can start going gravity.
I just wondered because we got a lift pump up here already that we aren't gonna be using in the near future, hopefully.
Yep.
So would that be even close to being big enough for that?
It might work for just pumping into a clarifier for equalization, but it would not get you to Zumbrota because you're gonna have to deal with a lot of extra
And that's
pressure
what
on it.
I was wondering.
Right. And so you're gonna have a lot of friction in that pipe and a lot of elevation to get past. So the pumps that you'll be installing to get to Zumbrota will be quite a bit bigger. And you probably want to put in 2 or 3 pumps to have some redundancy so that should something happen, you have, you can still get it done. Exactly.
Just that something we gotta look at.
Yep. And so really just kind of looking for maybe some input on what we'd like to plan for excess capacity. So as a little bit of a frame of reference, what we generally say, for a single family house, we usually plan on 2.5 people per house. So the general kind of engineering baseline is 100 gallons per person per day. So if you think of one residential home, that's 250 gallons per day that we would account for. So really, if we said 100 homes, that's 25,000 gallons. So the other piece that I'd like to take into account is now that we have built out Viola on the south side of town with the industrial park area, if that wants to develop, it's always the industrial users that are such the big fluctuation in flow rates. And so a lot of times what we'll do is we'll kind of say, okay, your industrial users will be anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 gallons per acre. Now, FabTech is probably a little bit lower of a use of water than other industries, but say you get an industry that requires a bunch of water, then obviously we're putting that down the sanitary line, and we just want to provide some capacity for the city to grow without having to, put on expansions to a regional facility.
So if we did get another business that was using more water, could they install their own sanitary?
That's certainly something that will probably come out of this as an overall agreement. So they probably won't treat it on site, and I don't know that you really want them to do full treatment on site because sometimes it gets cost prohibitive. So what will happen a lot of times is you'll have a pre-treatment agreement, and really, if a sanitary district forms, it's going to have to do that because you don't want just some industrial user coming in with really high loadings that basically throws a whole system out of whack. So what'll happen a lot of times is communities will require them to do a pre-treatment agreement, and they have to hit basically a limit on what the facility can handle. So it won't be necessarily what will be coming out of the overall treatment system. It won't be to that level, but it'll provide some sort of buffer for that, so it's not a huge slug of wastewater coming through with regular treatment biology. So I'm not sure if there's any thoughts on what sort of expansion we want to plan for, if it's say 100 houses and 20 acres in the industrial park, but essentially
How
it's,
many lots are up there, it's all,
oh, I guess it depends if we go north. I thought there was something like 60 to 80 over the west side.
if we had 80 on the west side,
Yep,
you'd want to just double it, because if we go north, you're gonna,
exactly,
so it'd be 160 then.
sure. And really, I consider this like a 15 to 20-year plan, because as the district grows and all the communities grow, it's just the nature of wastewater treatment facilities. They're probably gonna need to do some sort of expansion at that time, or whether rules change or anything like that in addition to treatment, so.
Is it applicable at all, what group was it that came in and told us we should look at Goodhue being, as many as 6,000 people in 10 years or something with the Rochester?
That whole study, what they were saying, but it wasn't gonna be that much.
Well, that was that Destination Rochester.
Destination, yeah.
But you look at it, when I started, a long time ago, it was 533 in 539 and 19.
Where it was when I got on the council.
Yeah, 1990, and I think now, I think, I don't know if we're gonna be 1,300, but I'd be really surprised if we aren't 1,300, this next official census period. You don't wanna make it too small, I mean, but I don't know how you wanna overbuild it either, I mean, I think it's pretty unlikely, given Goodhue's geographical location between Rochester and the cities, and we still have a school, that where we're gonna see the decline in population like they have seen out in southwestern Minnesota and those, I just don't see that happening here. If that's good or bad, I just don't see it happening here.
We're the growing part of the state.
Yeah.
You go out on the other side of Mankato, you're going to the dying part of the state,
Yeah, the small towns are really tough.
And luckily, residential waste is pretty easy to treat, so that loading isn't.
Well, we could always assess them.
But
If we had to get a company to come in, and you could always assess them an impact fee too. Which we, impact fee is if somebody has a business and they hook up to our system, and then, it ain't just hooking up. I mean, if the city spent several $1 million on a plant, and then this guy gets to come in later and not pay anything, so they call it impact fee, is what's the impact of that particular business on the system, and then they make them pay something for those costs.
that would be a very good idea to implement, especially as you start seeing industrial development. Residential isn't
Yeah.
as big of a deal, but it's really on the industrial side that can really cause some problems if you don't have anything in place.
And FabTech, to my knowledge, uses very little water.
Yeah, they were like 30,000 gallons every few months.
I don't know what the elevator uses, they must use quite a bit, but they don't flush it down the toilet, though, right?
But they're, it all depends on the time of year too.
Yeah.
But they're using more water, but not.
Sewer the system, yeah.
Oh, the sewer.
They're just, their water volume is higher.
That would be something we really need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Because industry draws industry, I think, and
Well-
there could be more that comes now because of that.
Well, there's other people that I know of that would like to maybe build something out there, and I'm just telling you, there are other people,
Sure,
and not small ones
There
either.
are interests.
Yeah,
really need to keep that in mind, yeah.
So So the good news is.
Well, so did you want something from us tonight on this?
Really, it would
I
just be
mean,
more of.
Throw
you know,
something dark?
If you wanted to say, you know, 160 homes, kind of like Carrie said, I think that gives us a good point. But
Okay.
really, if we assume, call it 20 acres in the industrial park at least.
We don't have an industrial park, but
Well, yeah, I mean,
I think there'd be probably available for the right price, it'd be more than that.
Yeah, I think you'd go almost,
60, I would say.
I was thinking 60 myself, 57 to 60 out there. Because everything south and west, you know, you figure that 20 acres, we got a lot more out there, yeah.
okay. And we can run some numbers on that, and obviously this is all not gonna be locked in by any means, this is just feasibility right now, but as we get into the facilities plan, which is the next step, that'll be really where that needs to start getting dialed in a little bit more.
Is that where it would, you know, be feasible to have something a little more here? Is that?
Yeah, so that's where that equalization comes into play, and that's gonna be the biggest thing. So one way you can add capacity without necessarily forcing expansion is to provide that additional capacity here. So if it's adding an additional equalization tank or, you know, lagoon, not that we want to build a lagoon right on the entrance to town. I don't want to see that,
No.
but, you know,
Yeah.
things of that nature, we can oversize a wet well for a lift station or something like that.
Okay.
So good news was, Senator Goggin and Representative Guskowski, they both introduced a bill to the Senate floor. So I did list just the Senate floor 2556. There's actually another one we just found out today that is 2555. Now, they had introduced that and they are requesting funding for $70 million for this project to help fund the force mains and the overall treatment facility for the district. So one is going to be the state fiscal recovery fund, which I believe was that 2556 bill. So that was just straight out of that one fund, but there is another fund that would be the actual state bond. And that would be the other bill, but they're both essentially the same verbiage, both for $70 million. And as that progresses, see kind of where that ends up from the state level. So, I know they did have a discussion with those folks a couple of weeks ago and got that on the radar, and frankly, it's moved very quickly from their end, so it's been very positive to see. They're both, you know, from what I was hearing was both saw the need, saw it as a benefit. MPCA is on board with it. They would like to see less facilities and less discharge points, and you know, they got on board. So that was all positive.
How much will that cover? I mean, is that a good percentage of the cost, or what?
That, you know, so essentially they were, and really this is just numbers at the wall right now. But we're planning on $20 million for the force main construction from all the communities, and the lift stations, and we're allocating $50 million for the facility. Now, this is kind of assuming a new facility, assuming all communities stay on board. And we wouldn't necessarily retrofit some roads, for example.
It was mentioned of the, what was it we were talking about? Or is it in here? Oh, the Elk Run settlement, sound like Pine Island.
Prairie Island Indian Community, Elk Run Settlement, yeah.
So that's a part of this also?
Yeah, and that's one thing I hadn't honestly heard of, but
That's, well, it's the old, it's where all those fences are along.
Yeah.
That's the city of Pine Island. And the city of Pine Island extended, public services out there. So it's all the way out there. So all that, there's that car dealer and stuff out there right along 52, all the way out to, you know, those nice fences are there.
Yeah.
That's owned by the Prairie Island Indian Community, but there's, public services are extended to there. It's all So all that wastewater, those public services, all go back to Pine Island for water and sewer and that stuff, yeah.
Any questions? Type the answer on. That's all I have tonight.
Well, thank you, Reese.
Good job,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Moving on here, Goodhue Lions raffle resolution. 9, 12, and 21.
Oh, that was Craven's raffle we voted last time.
Yeah,
This is
the
different.
The annual Lions when they have for the barbecue. Except they're gonna do it later when they have the side-by-side ride.
Okay.
Sure.
So I make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the Lions raffle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Goodhue Signs, had $1,000 commitment from the Lions last night, or
Yep, yeah, Rick
Monday
stopped
night,
by
Monday
and
night.
just wanted you to know that. So we have our first 1,000.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on that? How much are you guys looking to try to raise from that?
I thought that when we first started out, it was like 4,000, was it, per sign?
Sign, something like that.
There's another organization that might
Maybe
ask
four.
if
Yeah,
you guys
no.
are looking for something.
It was actually, started out with the JCs, the Lions in the city. That's who was doing it, everybody's gonna contribute equal to it. But it's time we get off the ground on it, and get going on it. Even if we do one a year.
So if there was another group that wanted to come forward, possibly, can't speak without asking, but there's interest.
That would be just
Okay.
Great.
gosh.
Be
We
good.
take money from it.
Yeah, we turn money away.
Well, Frank.
No, that's what it is, Derek.
Thank you.
Mayor's concerns, I've been kind of slacking lately.
No, not at all.
Council concerns.
Any more news on our senior housing facility or?
They signed the purchase agreement, they're looking to break ground in 1st of July.
Okay, so they purchased the ground?
No, they
Purchase
they
agreement.
signed a purchase agreement and I was gonna try and get it closed in the next 10 days or so. Hopefully for next meeting and they'll own it, so.
That'll be good for us.
Yes. And the only bad part that.
Oh, yeah, you should bring that
I
up.
was gonna say, I guess I was doing some things, and the one bad part of it is, I met with the county about that ditch, to change it, and they don't have the funding to do it unless we wait a year or so. And I said, we're not waiting, so I said, we found some money that we're just gonna do it, because I don't wanna hold that project up for that.
Yeah.
So should we explain where it's coming from, Kerry?
Yeah.
So we have we're gonna get about 205,000 for the sale of that lot. We have to pay about 100,000 for the water and sewer extension to Fabtech. So we're left with 105. And then we also made the city decided to provide 85,000 for extension of water and sewer into the senior living facility. So there's, I'm not saying there's surplus, but there's about $20,000 left to work with there. We didn't commit it to it, but
We didn't commit, but we are gonna try to work with their contractor. And it shouldn't be $20,000. All we're gonna do is just
Yeah.
put a culvert in, take the bid, flip it up so that the water runs. I mean, it shouldn't be that we did find the 20,000 if we need it.
we didn't commit to it though.
No, I don't wanna do anything behind your back, so that's why I'm bringing it up.
That was it, and so what they agreed to, they were gonna have their engineer take a look at it, see how much it was gonna cost, and it would make sense to do it at the same time they're doing their rest of their dirt work out there.
Yeah, we can't hold this project up.
Right,
It's
and
come to
and
us.
I got the county's okay to do it, so.
Yeah, they'll let you go on it right away and do it, right?
Yeah,
Good,
Okay,
yeah, sounds good.
okay,
I forgot about that part.
yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
I have one concern. with the holding pond behind, Evans there. You know, where the runoff the pond is there. The
Oh,
water.
that, okay, I was
Yeah.
thinking of a
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there have been kids swimming in there. And it's really not safe to swim in there, is it? It's
No.
all runoff. So what, do we post no swimming signs or, I mean, the kids love to go catch frogs and stuff. That's great, but they're swimming in there.
We-
And it's,
we
it's a
can't-
real safety
We
issue.
can't have some.
Okay, so,
Is there water in there this year and it's all dry as it's been?
oh yeah, there's a lot of water in there. Yeah, a lot of water.
We'll get Josh to kind of
I
watch
think
it.
maybe the drain pipe is, that ain't supposed to hold water, is it?
Oh yeah, that's what it's there
But there's
for.
not a standpipe that lets it all go down?
No, not in this design, so this is a true pond. So,
There's no standpipe in there?
There's always water in it.
Okay. I
The
didn't
other
know.
thing is there's always a flock of geese that come in every spring, so you know that there's goose poop in there, and there's been ducks that come too. So it's not clean, it's not safe for the kids to be swimming.
I would say,
Swimming.
let's have Josh look at it, if we can't curb it, then we're gonna have to fence it. I don't wanna re-fence it if we don't have to. Especially,
How are you gonna keep kids out of there though,
I
without
know.
fencing it?
I
I
don't know,
know.
I mean,
It's a tough one.
I mean, it's not that big, is it? Or are you thinking
like,
to fence it?
Because it's right up there, right? Is that the one you're talking about, right up there in that? Right hand
Well, it's
corner?
pretty mucky down below. We hate to see a little kid get stuck in the mud and
yeah,
drown.
up top,
I mean, it could happen in that holding pond, couldn't it?
especially if it's raining.
Yeah.
You get some of that.
That's silt.
Suction from the pipe
Yeah.
out.
So it only goes out that corner if there's an overflow pipe, not a standpipe then?
Yep, so it's
Yeah.
just a straight overflow, so basically
Okay.
it's designed so that it holds water, you get some of the runoff coming in, it's settling out, and then it overflows when you have some of that hard rainfall.
It's an attractive nuisance. That's what they call those things.
but I mean, cause if you get houses up there, that fence just
I know.
looks bad, I mean, it really
Yeah.
would.
What's the maintenance thing too? You gotta mow it?
I know, but it's something to be,
But I
can we
understand where you're
post,
coming
can
from.
we post it?
Yeah, we gotta post it.
Post signs that would say?
I finally got it.
Oh, it's so
Good job,
slow,
Laura.
I don't know what the heck. Okay, well, I must have clicked on the wrong.
Yeah,
There it is.
right there.
Right there, yeah.
Especially put houses in there.
Yeah.
Let's post it, have Josh watch it, and
Mhm.
if we get, well, Evans, Evans or?
No, Evans they don't have any little kids.
No, I'm just wondering,
Yeah,
whoever talked to, and I don't wanna know, just if they see it, just.
Oh, yeah, have them tell the
report.
kids, yeah.
yeah,
Either that or the parents can tell the kids it's not a safe environment to be in.
right.
I mean, that's what I would look at now.
Yeah.
Then I would probably, if we have to, if it still gets bad, then I'd say we have to fence it, just,
Yeah.
that's money too.
Right.
Jeez.
Because we'd hate to have something happen.
Any other council concerns? Trish, you have anything, or?
No, not that I can think of now, I might have, but I can't remember.
You and me are the same boat, so.
She stops at 8 o'clock.
I will say, you gotta go.
Yeah, I'm late now, so. Motion to pay the bills,
Almost.
Second?
motion second to pay the bills, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried, motion adjourned.
So moved.
So are we gonna move Josh to next meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Second. Motion made, second to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. We're going to EDA meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the April 28th meeting?
I so approve. Approve.
Do I get a second?
Second,
Motion made, second to approve the April 28th meeting, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Any, well, yeah, we got old business, but we got Not yet, has been.
I don't know.
I've signed a purchase agreement for,
Oh, about the, okay,
for I can either apply through the both addresses would be one. It's the next one up in the house that's being built anyway. That lot is sold.
Okay.
And then we're looking at twin home lot twos. We gotta do some work on that first.
So which house, which lot is sold up from where?
And one that's being built now.
I think it'd be over
Another
here.
street.
I think it'd be this one here, Kerry, wouldn't that be right?
Yep.
The next to the one that's already built,
That's just in the process.
in the process of being built.
Oh, okay, going up towards
Now,
nine.
going south on,
Next lot towards number 9 from the
Yep,
house that's being
okay.
built now. And then, yeah, then we got some interest in a twin home lot that we gotta look at, working on, so. Any other old business, or
I don't think so, no.
we'll go to the new business then? Donna meet Mac's last meeting? Oh. You there, Donna?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, darn.
Well, I do have a few things to bring up here. The grant application for the depot for the Minnesota Historical Society. When I checked it last night, it was still under review. So hopefully we'll know that in the next 10 days, I guess, by June 9th is what they said. Also, the grant sources for the new depot park, the Veterans Memorial, any depot things, I did send a spreadsheet out to Lori, Carolyn, Kathy, Ardith, and Traven. And also a spreadsheet has been created to drop in the business names, phone numbers, addresses, that type of thing. I got the spreadsheet created, but I did not get the names dropped in, but I'll pass that on to my replacement, to Mitch. And I did send him the entire Goodhue folder that's in my laptop into his W drive last night, so he should have that information. And I think that's about all I have, other than thank you so much for your support and supporting CETA. And I will pass the baton to Mitch.
Well, thanks for doing what you've been doing for us.
Thanks,
and
Donna.
Thank you.
You
Thank
did
you.
well, so thank you very much.
Have
You're
fun.
welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah.
Now, have fun in
fun.
your retirement, you know, like the rest of us don't.
I hear you're retiring, Carrie.
Well, I wanted to, but they're offered me a position where it's hard to accept it.
Oh, well,
I mean-
little more longer then, huh?
Yeah, another year maybe.
Oh, time goes by fast. I can't believe my retirement is here already, and on Friday tomorrow's my last day with CETA, and then my retirement starts on Friday. We've already booked our vacation house in Florida this winter, and we've got a lot of plans, so I will send a thank you letter off to Lori tomorrow that she can send to the rest of you guys. You guys, I really appreciate working in Goodhue. It was really nice to work with you guys and gals.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you much, Donna.
You're welcome.
Now,
And here's Mitch Maslin. Maslin or Moslin?
Mossman.
Oh, it's here. It's here. He's patiently waiting back there.
I got introduced to him right away, so when I got here.
No, that's fine. I'll introduce myself. I'm Mitch Mossman. I've been with CETA for a little over a year now. I started in April of last year. I currently represent you guys now, beginning in June. I'm in Pine Island 3 days a week and Lewiston 1 day a week. Before CETA, I was at Associated Bank for 5.5 years, so most of my background is in the finance aspect of it.
but I've enjoyed what I've been doing here with CETA, and I look forward to picking up where Donald left off and helping you guys wherever you need to go.
We'll go get the businesses for us.
Do we have your phone number?
I can get it to you.
I mean, hey, that would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming there, Beth.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
There's no other business, can I have a motion to adjourn the EDA meeting?
Second?
Motion made, second, adjourn the EDA meeting on fair side.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 10 minutes short.
Thanks.
I can get done before
Yeah,
Thank you.
that would be nice.
Thank you.
No,
you know.
very good, thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, boy. Sanitizer?